Hi. This week, one of the most interesting conversations I saw was about of working for royalties as compared to working for a flat fee. For example, if you're going to, as a freelance writer, you do you just want a one-off payment, or accept micro payments from royalties uh, over time? And the the royalties seem like a really attractive proposition. If something sells, you let's say you're getting a 20% royalty. You've done all the writing. The publisher does the layout, sources the art, and then does the publishing and marketing. It means that you don't have to deal with any of those things. You can literally just write, your adventure, you know, probably to a brief, submit it, and then you earn off that, in theory, forevermore. It's a much easier way of working. Um, but the downside is that royalties are very speculative. You have no idea how many your adventure is going to sell, so you don't know what you're going to earn. Royalties also, they drop off a cliff really quickly. Unless you're really lucky and your product, what your adventure you wrote or your supplements you wrote, unless becomes an evergreen product that constantly sells, chances are most of its sales are going to happen in, definitely in the first year, probably in the first 6 months, highly likely inside the first month, and then they would trail away. And the problem with that earnings over time is they get diminished by inflation. So you may earn, $20 a month in royalties. I think that's great, but in a year's time, that $20 will buy less. In 2 years' time, it'll buy less again, and so on. Depending on where you are in the world, inflation could be really high and really uh, eat into your earnings. You may be in an area with relatively low inflation, or you could be somewhere where being paid in dollars is actually really advantageous, and having a long-term you know, dollar income, is really beneficial. If you've got local currency inflation, then those dollars end up getting more and more valuable. So that's a real choice that you have to make, depending on, if you look at the different deals that are around. Publishers looking for freelancers. Some offer profit share, some offer word rates. The best word rates in the industry, I believe, are 25 cents a word, and that's probably one publisher that's doing that. And you know, they you know, they probably use the same few writers all the time. So the chances of you getting a gig like that are slim. I know that in the background, as you can see, Michael Mars. I know that he does Kickstarters, and the idea is the stretch goals on his Kickstarters are to pay his writers more. So the more it funds, the more his writers get paid, which I think is really cool. Uh, if you're not in one of these kind of rare, well-paying you know, deals, then you're looking at still, 2 to 5 cents a word is still really common, and that's because the value of sales is generally very low, and all the other overheads are really high. Art is just simply expensive wherever you go. So the amounts you're going to earn as a flat fee is often very disappointing. Um, if you set yourself up as a freelancer, you may see that the higher rates, you may want the higher rates, but that's kind of dependent on your track record and your existing credits. So you're going to be starting out on the lowest rates, which is just, it's not good, but it's just the way the industry is. Lots of publishers that offer the royalties are doing it because they don't have the money up front. And you whichever way, a publisher that offers you a flat fee are doing it because they expect that to be the most profitable for them. So the ones that are going to hopefully make the most sales are the most keen to pay you a flat fee, so they can keep those, the profits from the long tail for themselves. Those that are offering a royalty uh, have no confidence in the long term, earnings over time, unless you are a bulk publisher. Now you can easily find many sort of one person companies out there with say 500 titles, 300 titles, and they're relying on maybe each title earning say $5 a month or $10 a month, and it's kind of they're stacking it high, selling it cheap, and they may pay for things to be written with an eye to make that money back in 2 years. Uh, but for them, the micropayments just they all accumulate, and they all accumulate, and each drip becomes a stream, which becomes a torrent, and so that works for them. But it's when you're starting out, I would say uh, it's almost a case of if they're offering you a flat dollar rate, then you probably want royalties and it's worth negotiating. If they're offering you royalties, then you probably want a flat rate and it's worth negotiating, because the publisher has already decided um, the numbers, and the most profitable for them is the one they're offering. So chances are you want the other one. Uh, so yeah, that's really that. There's lots of discussions. There's lots of pros and cons. It also comes down to whether you can afford to earn $20 a month for you know, forever, or whether you need the $200 or the $500 or whatever the flat fee would be, because you need to pay utility bills now. You've got to make rent. So it's it's a personal choice, but one that's definitely worth giving some thoughts to. And if I was going to do a commission for someone now, I would probably look at all their existing titles, looking at them in date order, and see. Obviously, we've got a very crude filter. If it's copper, then it's sold over 51 but below 100, or below 101. We've got silver 101 to 250, electrum. But you can kind of get a feel for, look at the products that are similar to what you are being asked to write. How many has it sold? How long did it take to get there? Um, Assume they're at the lower end of the metal bands. It's always better to assume the worst and be pleasantly surprised. And then from there, try and do a kind of back of an envelope calculation for what the royalty would actually earn you and over what time period. If a publisher's got lots of products that have reached copper in a couple of weeks, and silver in a month, and electrum in 6 months or a year, and then they haven't got any golds, then their long tail is really dying a death after that 12-month period, because they never make it to the gold, platinum, whatever. Whereas one that's going tripping along quite nicely from copper, silver, electrum, gold, platinum inside the year, that's obviously kept its momentum going. And then I would probably want royalties in that situation because they've got a really good proven track record. So these are things to consider about when, or to consider or think about uh, when you're looking at a deal. There's often kind of looking for higher deals on drive-through on the Discord, that you some of them are royalty based. Some of them are you know, that one. Okay, it's been struck out because it's covered, but it was a combination. It was a $50 flat fee plus 1% royalties. Uh, so yeah, there's here they just said they can't afford to pay much. Uh, but yeah, there's gigs coming up. So let's look at the dates. There's 2nd of February, 29th of Jan, 23rd of Jan, uh, 18th of Jan, 15th. So that's what two, 1, 2 a week. There are gigs coming up all the time, and this flat fee versus royalty is a regular feature that comes up in the deals. So yeah, it's you know, before you accept one of these, look at the track records, try and do back of envelope a rough calculation of what it's really worth to you, and then see what they're offering. Okay, thank you for watching.